What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video, I'm trying out a pretty fun and unique team that you guys could try in the Great League. It's going to be Charizard, Obstagoon, and Umbreon. Umbreon is going to be our safe swap, and the core of Charizard and Obstagoon can pair very well against a lot of the meta. Now, we obviously have some Pokemon and we need to look out for, one being Azumarill, which we do face off against today. It's not as common as it used to be back in the day, but it's still a Pokemon that can be a threat to this team, but we do have a lot of neutral damage to be able to handle it and chip it down. Alright, getting into the first battle, we have Charizard on the lead versus Sableye. So what I'm hoping to do is catch a foul play on Umbreon if I can. So I'm going to go ahead and look to shield this first one, and then I'll throw the Blast Burn. Granted, I was hoping to be able to throw the Dragon Claw and dip, but I got a little bit greedy right there, so we're going to go ahead and go for Dragon Claw, but they instead swap into Registeel, which I thought was very interesting. I'm going to go ahead, throw that Dragon Claw, build up to Blast Burn now, and go for that, as it will definitely be forcing a shield in this kind of situation, and they decided to no-shield it. So instead, I'm going to come in with Obstagoon and farm down as they bring back in Sableye. So this is actually a huge tell that they are very weak in the back to Obstagoon. Having Sableye and Registeel facing off against it, yeah, it's probably going to be something like Galarian Stunfisk, Bastiodon, something like that in the back would be my only guess, or maybe a Trevenant. Potentially, as return does land, I decided to let it go. And let's see what's going to be in the back. It is going to be Bastiodon. So we're just going to go ahead and go for Cross Chops now. I could have shielded that return, but ultimately I thought, you know what? I want to save the shield for Umbreon because it might do solid enough against whatever's in the back. Maybe if it was a Noctowl or something neutral, or more neutral, I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and counter swap into Umbreon now because I'm going to have to win this game with foul plays as it does do neutral damage. But overall, this first game, pretty good win for us. I was actually surprised they swapped out to catch the charge move, but ultimately they did catch a Dragon Claw, but I had so much energy on Charizard that I was able to answer back with a Blast Burn and Obstagoon. So they really didn't have a good answer for Obstagoon, which is why it can be a big threat here in the Great League. It's a pseudo fighter, so you're not taking super effective damage against Pokemon like Noctowl. But you do have that counter damage for the tanks, and you also have Night Slash, which is really good coverage against the Ghosts and Psychics, so Trevenant, for example, being a very common one, as Umbreon here is going to take it with these foul plays. This one won't be able to KO, but the next one definitely will as we get to it in time with 1 HP and a Dream. So that is going to be a good battle, but ultimately Obstagoon and Charizard right there really took it, and thankfully the bulk here from Umbreon was able to handle the Bastiodon, so good game. Alright, moving to the next one, we have Charizard on the lead versus Hypno, a Pokemon I haven't actually seen in a long time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go for Blast Burn and then dip into Umbreon, hoping that we can catch the likely Thunder Punch that is going to be thrown right after right here. So we go for Blast Burn, they shield it, we swap, and we do in fact catch it. The reason why is the delay, or the time it takes for a Confusion to cycle through was enough for me to be able to swap out. Now here's that Azumarill that we were talking about. So, team reading right now. We have a Azumarill and we have a Hypno. So that is two Pokemon that are very good against fighting types. So I'm reading that something is weak in the back to fighting. Maybe it's Galarian Stunfisk, maybe it's Registeel, maybe it's Bastiodon. That is what's in my head, so I'm going to play to that. I'm going to play by giving and investing more in Obstagoon to potentially sweep. Even Charizard might be able to do it, but we go ahead and go for a last resort. Now, I'm going to have to shield a play rough here. I don't want to get taken out as I need to do more neutral damage with Umbreon in last resort in order to get this Azumarill extremely low. So we're going to go ahead and go for another last resort. And again, Azumarill is hard to take down, but if it's not on the lead, you're going to draw it out with Umbreon, and you can do a lot of neutral matchup as we are seeing here. So I'm able to get to another one, but unfortunately that is going to be CMP tie. So I have to no-shield this. Again, I'm trusting in Obstagoon to potentially sweep. So now I have to come in with Charizard right here and load up on energy and hope that a Dragon Claw is going to be enough. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the Dragon Claw. And unfortunately for me, I mean, this is an XL Azumarill. It is not enough, and I won't be able to farm down, so I have to let this go. Again, what are we reading? Well, we saw Azumarill, we saw Hypno. I'm guessing Galarian Stunfisk or Registeel or Bastiodon in the back, so we're going to come in with Obstagoon, and it's an Altaria! You know, sometimes you can team read everything in the world, and it still comes out to be not what you predicted. So there's really no win con here for me. Other than, there's no win con. Now, I fight it out anyways. I fight the good fight because I want to try to fish for a boost if I can, just to say I got the boost. But ultimately, there is no win con here. Again, that'll happen sometimes. When you're in Go Battle League, you might be team reading just like me. Alright, they had this Pokemon, and this was their second Pokemon. This could likely be their third. So in this case, it makes a lot of sense to have something weak to fighting that can also do well against Trevenant. So yeah, unfortunately, that is not the case. I did get the boost there, though, which is beautiful, but Obstagoon goes down, so that is going to be a good battle. Alright, moving to the next one. We have Charizard on the lead versus Shadow Victory Bell. Alright, well, flip this around. We got a really positive matchup right here, and they decided to swap into Scrafty. So, this is a double good matchup, which means Charizard's core breaking right here. I'm going to go ahead and shield the potential foul play, because my wing attacks are going to add up where I want to maintain switch advantage here and have a lot of energy. So I'm going to load up. I'm going to look to go for Blast Burn because they're going to be forced to shield. Otherwise, this one-shots. And if it one-shots, I have a lot of energy on this back end. So it does one-shot. And let's see what they decide to bring in. It is going to be... It's going to be Bastiodon. Okay, so I swap out right away into Umbreon. And this is already looking to be a good game for me because we have Obstagoon hidden in the back. Bastiodon doesn't want to stay in too long here against the Umbreon because it needs to get that Victory Bell onto the field to keep it away from Charizard, but ultimately this is the play, and this is why Umbreon can be such a good safe swap in the Great League, as we can do so much neutral damage. And then we do see the Victory Bell come back in, so again, another really good opportunity to put shield pressure down now with foul plays and just chip neutral damage, but that Bastiodon in the back has nowhere to go because we do have our Obstagoon. Now, they decided to no shield that foul play, so they're really hoping to invest in Bastiodon to sweep this game, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately, for my opponent. I'm going to come in with Charizard right away. I'm going to look to go for the full farm down, and then I'm going to go ahead and go for Blast Burn here. And then that'll get a shield, and then we will have Obstagoon sweep. So that is going to be a good battle. Unfortunately, Charizard does go down, but that's the price you pay sometimes in order to sweep with an Obstagoon as we safely shield this Stone Edge. And thankfully, they only do neutral damage, and it's not that much. And this is why it's so cool to have this pseudo counter. I know if we were a fighting type, we would resist these rock type moves. But ultimately, Obstagoon has that beautiful typing where you can cover a lot of the meta as long as you keep it away from stuff like Medicham or Charmer. So good game. Alright, moving to the next one. We have Charizard on the lead versus Bastiodon. Okay, so very, very, very tough lead. We swap into Umbreon right away, and they bring in a Shadow Victory Bell. So this is what I'm seeing. Bastiodons and Shadow Victory Bells all over the place. This is where we've gotten to in the meta. But thankfully, we can get ourselves shield advantage right there. We're going to go ahead and look to go for another foul play. But they do decide to throw the charge move. I'm going to go ahead and shield because I think, you know what, maybe I can get this into the 1-0 shield situation because I basically have 2 foul plays ready to go. So they're going to be forced to shield. And they decide to no shield it. So I'm like, okay, I definitely can go for another foul play here. And this is definitely going to be getting their final shield. Otherwise, I take switch, which is totally fine with me. But if you're running Bastiodon and Shadow Victory Bell, you need switch advantage. I wish I would have been able to land a return or a last resort. I think that would have KO'd. We come in with Charizard. And this is going to just be a Leaf Blade, so we can easily resist it. They decide to undercharge it as well, hoping that Bastiodon can farm down. But my switch clock is back up, so I'm swapping out right away. And the final Pokemon is going to be Trevenant. So that's going to be a good battle. Talk about getting core broken right there. GG's. All right. Moving into the next one. We have... Let's see what we got here. We got Charizard versus Medicham. Okay. So really good lead for us, especially considering our back end. So we're going to look to stay in on this, obviously. And they're deciding to stay in as well. But they now decide to swap into Bastiodon. And I will say this. Bastiodon, in my opinion, is not a good safe swap. It is a good lead or an anchor. Safe swapping it is going to get you into a lot of trouble because you're not going to be able to do a lot of damage here as I go ahead and go for a cross chop to try to force a shield because they do have a lot of energy. But they decide to shield anyways. I thought it was maybe a slight mistake on my end because I should have just farmed down and have Night Slashes ready to go because we can easily survive Stone Edge here. That way the Medicham doesn't get a lot of energy on the back end. So as you guys can see, Obstagoon is very low. We maintain switch. We maintain shield advantage. So things are looking very, very good. Now, if you're going to safe swap something that is an anti-flyer, Registeel or Galarian Stunfisk are going to be your better options. Now, thankfully, I had stored energy on Charizard, so we'll go ahead and swap in right away and go for that Blast Burn, forcing shield number 2 for my opponent. And I'm going to go ahead and give up a shield here. This is safe, just in case this is Psychic, which it is. So that's beautiful. We can now load up on energy, and they're deciding to stay in. So I'm going to go ahead and go for another Blast Burn, get this Medicham out of there. I don't know what's in the back, but a Charizard and an Umbreon with 1 shield should be able to take it down, and it is going to be Galarian Stunfisk. So that, now reading that they had Galarian Stunfisk, that might have been a misclick on my opponent's side, going into Bastiodon instead of using Galarian Stunfisk. So using that team, Galarian Stunfisk should always be the safe swap there, because it's a bit more forgivable in that mid-game matchup as Blast Burn lands. Boom! Nearly one-shots, and we will be able to wing attack down. So that is going to be a good game, very well played. The outcome would have still been the same. Obstagoon taking out Galarian Stunfisk and whatnot, but it would have been closer. And we got a Venusaur into Galarian Stunfisk, so we're going to go ahead and have that Obstagoon come in. And this is that safe swap that I was talking about when you lose lead. So I'm guessing they have a Bastiodon in the back. This is what I've been seeing. Just lots and lots of Bastiodons and Galarian Stunfisk and Grass-type Pokemon. So we're going to go ahead and shield up the Earthquake. And then I'm hoping to be able to farm down, but I don't think I'm going to get there in time. And I tried to commit to the farm down, but unfortunately this Earthquake is going to land. I maybe should have given away... well, I can survive Earthquake, which is fine. But now I have 2 charge moves here on the back end. So I'm going to go ahead and look to go for the Night Slash versus the Venusaur coming back in. Now, this is the tough thing about Venusaur, is you really don't want it to farm down this much energy, because it can do very, very well with a lot of energy. So what we're actually going to do is swap out into Umbreon here to try to force some energy from my opponent, because with Galarian Stunfisk out of the way, sure, there could be a Bastiodon in the back. I'm hoping it's not, but we can load up on energy and hopefully take this game out. Now, in hindsight, maybe I come in with, or maybe I just, well, it was a Registeel in the back, but thinking back, maybe I throw that charge move to not get hit by the second Earthquake, and I think we would have been in a lot better situation. So we're going to go ahead and go for Foul Plays. I did get very lucky that it was Registeel. Had it been Bastiodon, I think we would have lost, considering the misplay that I did right there of swapping into Umbreon, thinking it was maybe something else, or I didn't want them to farm me down. So now Charizard's going to be coming in. This is going to be a close one. I got to go for Dragon Claw here for the shield bait in order to recover from my own mistake during the mid game, which can be recoverable. We do get a shield, which is beautiful. And now it's going to be up to Obstagoon trying to catch a charge move in order to take down the Registeel. So we're going to go ahead, load up on energy. We're going to go for the Blast Burn now to try to force shield number 2, or just sneak it through. And then let's see if we get it. They do decide to shield, so I'm going to go ahead and swap now into Obstagoon, and they're going to try to commit to the farm down, and they don't get it. I'm able to get to the cross chop in time, but this is not enough to KO. Now, thankfully, I left with energy on Dragon Claw, so I am able to win CMP tie, and this now is going to be enough chip damage here in order to win it, so that is going to be a good game. So I messed up really bad there in the mid game, swapping on Umbreon, because I was fearful of the Venusaur fully farming me down, but had I played the Galarian Stunfisk matchup better, I think we would have been okay. Alright, we got Stunfisk here on the lead, so we're going to go ahead and swap into Umbreon. That's a really bad lead for us, and it unfortunately does a lot of neutral damage to this whole team. Now, Umbreon is going to be our best options in terms of soaking charge moves here, so we're going to go ahead and load up. I was anticipating them swapping out, but they're not, so this tells me maybe they are in fact weak in the back to Umbreon, and they decide now to bring in a Noctowl. So what we're going to do here is basically soft lose this matchup. I might need to keep Umbreon alive, considering how delayed Switch Clock is right now. We're going to have my Charizard up soon, so I'm just going to do as many foul plays as possible, and then look to come in with Charizard and try to get some use out of it against the Noctowl here, because Obstagoon is going to need to be my Pokemon to sweep, and if they were weak in the back, so if they brought in, so yeah, I swap in the Charizard here. We're going to let this Sky Attack go through. We're going to load up on energy and hope that I can win the race to the charge move against the Pancake coming back in. So I'm going to just load up a little bit extra, go for a Dragon Claw right here, and then my hope is that I can get to a Blast Burn here in time. But I lost a bit of track of how much energy the Stunfisk has. I know it's like it doesn't have a charge move yet, but it was one fast move away. So that was a mistake on my end. But we can let the Charizard go down. We're going to come in with Obstagoon now and load up. They were very careful not to come into Umbreon, so my guess is Obstagoon can do good as well. Otherwise, we would have seen that Medicham come in or whatever was going to be coming in. We're going to give up a shield here as well. We don't know what's in the back, but Discharge is going to do a decent amount of neutral damage, and it's actually going to be a Pelipper in the back. So they actually had two really good answers for my Charizard, so thankfully I got some use out of it against the Noctowl. And we get a boost on Obstagoon. Here we go. We got a shield as well right there. So we're going to go ahead and go for these Night Slash, and this just does so much damage. You'll love to see it. I'm going to go ahead and shield the potential Hurricane, but this is likely just going to be Weather Ball spam, which it is. We're going to go ahead and try to go for another Night Slash, try to get this Pelipper out of there. Now, my fear is getting caught with the Hurricane landing, so I decide to swap into Umbreon, and they throw right away, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is in fact Hurricane, but no, it's a Weather Ball. That's not enough to KO me. I get to the foul play in time, but the Stunfisk comes in. Oh, this is a really tough back and forth. The Stunfisk now is going to be able to fully farm me down. Obstagoon here should be able to survive a charge move. It's only neutral damage. Pancake doesn't have too much output in terms of its attack stat. So we will be able to farm down. And now I'm one counter away. And we CMP tie against each other. So that was, I think, a good comeback. CMP tie from almost winning. And that is going to be a good battle. We faced off against a Stunfisk and a Pelipper with a Charizard, so it really had nowhere to go, and that was the final battle. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It's a pretty fun team to try out. Obviously there are some weaknesses, but there's also a lot of fun to be had as well. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.